Alright guys, here's our second lesson that we have, and this is the economics of East Asia. Now this one is going to have some more vocabulary, and it's going to have another chart to fill out, and I apologize, it's a lot of writing, but that way you can get the information and hopefully retain a lot of it for our test. The first vocabulary word that we have is innovation. Now innovation is something new or different that is introduced to the world. Make a change. All right, these are two innovations that we have here on pictures, and you need to write down the examples as well. I left you space so you can get all this down. This is our definition. This right here is our definition. And then we need to also make sure we list out the examples, because these are going to be examples that are helpful for our test. Now, what we see on innovation is innovations are changes. Okay, remember we've talked about the iPad or iPhone or iPod. They've been a big innovation in technology, and now other companies are finally catching up to how Apple had made those changes. One of the big examples is computer chips. This is a computer chip right here. Now the computer chip, that little chip right there is a processor that can control most of your computer. Something that small. This is a pretty big picture of it as well. Now, before we had these types of computer chips, we'd have big light bulbs. And these big light bulbs, forgive my picture, I don't draw very well. These big light bulbs would sit there and they would run the entire system. You'd have multiple of these. And they were so big, the computers were originally, that you had them going from the wall of one classroom to all the way through 3 or 4 other classrooms. And that was one computer. And basically all it could do was add 2 plus 2. And sometimes it even messed that up. So the computer chips really made a big change. Now you look at how computer chips work. Your cell phone works on a computer chip. This computer right here, this is 20 million times faster than anything they had when they first started computers. So that's huge to remember. The next one is the smart car. Now, I understand not many of us think the smart car is a really cool thing because it's so small. But the technology that's in there is tremendous. This developed in Japan. You know that it also developed in Japan. Now, as it developed in Japan, one of the cool things about it is they have so many people in such a small area that it allowed more motorists to be on the road. Without that, Japan would not be able to have many cars. Now, another thing about this is it's very, very, very efficient when it comes to energy. Doesn't use much gas, doesn't use much oil. So that's one of the positives about it. It's very eco-friendly, and it's going to run with little effort. Look at that. There's not much room for an engine in there, so you know it has to be small, and it has to be pretty good to be able to move 2 people in a vehicle that small. Now, I understand most of us have big vehicles at home, bigger than this, but in Japan this is a huge thing, and it's starting to take over in a lot of parts of the world, especially in Europe, and now coming more and more to America. So the next thing we're going to look at is the economic systems of East Asia. So what I need you to do is we're going to have this area right here is one part of our column, and then this area right here is the other part of our column. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the communist side first, and then we're going to come over to the free market side. This is just how everything looks inside of East Asia. We have different groups. For example, in the command economy, where the government commands you what to do, like communism, the government is control of everything. Government control of the economy. They tell you every decision. They make decisions on what to make, the amount of that making. So let's say they're making pencils. They're going to tell you what quality pencil, they're going to give you the supplies. They're going to order you to make, let's say, 1,000 pencils a day. If you don't get that done, then you're going to be in trouble. So you have to make sure you take care of business at all times. There's no competition in companies. They always work. Everything that everybody who makes pencils, you're just making them to the best of your ability, and they're being utilized in your country. Now, two examples of this are in China, which is the red flag, and North Korea, which is the blue and red one with the red star. These both of these countries are currently communism. And we've seen a lot of problems happen because of this. In North Korea especially, the government's using so much of the economy for the military that they're really not taking care of their people. And we're seeing a lot of problems with that. A lot of people are starving because they don't have food to buy. They don't have money to buy food. On the other side of the argument is capitalism, free market, similar to what we have here in America. In capitalism, individuals are in control of the economy. So you as an individual really have a lot of say in the economy. You can buy what you want, you can make what you want, you can do a lot of different things. Individuals decide what people want and how much to have. Is called supply and demand. So let's say you want to buy a new video game system. You want to buy a new Wii or PlayStation. You're gonna tell, if you're making them, you get to decide how much you're gonna make and then what the price is. Okay? If you price it too high, then you're gonna maybe have to lower the price down because demand won't be high. But either way, you are making a very big impact. So that's why in capitalism you see a lot of businesses. They're always in competition. If they're not competing against somebody, that means that the economy is slowing down a little bit. Also, innovations are needed to make sure your company is successful. Let's go back to our example of the iPhone. When it first came out, the innovation was tremendous. Nobody had ever seen a technology like this. And so what you're going to see is a lot of people are trying to mimic it now. Now, finally, in the last couple of years, the Samsung Galaxy and some of the other Android phones are finally starting to make an impact on Apple, starting to take away all of their glory by being able to produce something just as good. And examples where you see capitalism and free market are in Japan and Taiwan. Japan is the flag with the white and the red circle, and then Taiwan is the blue and red one with the white star. So these are examples of how the command economy and capitalism work against each other. So these two economic systems are super important. The last thing that we're going to do is we're going to do types of industry. Now, if you look at your note sheet, you're going to see that you have two sides. You have agriculture written down, and then you're going to have a blank spot. And in that blank spot, you need to make sure you have, by agriculture, the vocab word copied down, the definition for the vocab word copied down. And then on the other side, you need to come up with a picture. So that way it's always good to have a picture that goes with the word, so that way you remember everything. So agriculture, these are products make use of natural resources. So like this is going to be crops like wheat or corn. And inside there you're going to see people producing, using the ground, using water, using different things you find naturally. And so we need to make sure you know that in this type of industry, agriculture, products make use of natural resources, and then draw a picture to represent it. The next one is wholesale, where products are sold in large quantities to businesses so they can sell to individuals. The biggest example that we have here in town is Sam's. Now, Sam's, you see that you can buy 1,001 napkins. No one person needs 1,001 napkins. But what a lot of places do is, like restaurants or gas stations, will buy those large quantities of napkins so that way the individuals can have them. You also see a lot of small businesses like gas stations buy candy, snacks, food like that to try to sell to everybody. And so that's where you're going to see a lot of those selling points coming from. Next time you go buy a bag of chips, you can even ask the people, where did they get their chips? They might even tell you that they came from Sam's. So types of industry, the second one that we have is wholesale. So you need to draw a picture. Easiest one is probably drawing a picture of the Sam's building. The next one that we have is retail. Retail are products are sold directly to the public. So wholesale, you buy a big set, you sell it in smaller pieces to individuals. Retail, you just is where you're buying the small pieces. So places like Walmart, any of the stores you see in the mall, Target, Kmart, any of those places are retail stores. It's where you're buying just small pieces to be able to provide for you and your family. They're just small pieces sold directly to the public. The next one that we have is manufacturing. Manufacturing is processing natural materials on a large scale using machinery. So things like metals, like food, all these things can be made into manufacturing or used in manufacturing. Cotton and clothes. So they're going to take the natural resources and then convert it into something using machines. So that's what you're seeing here is this guy's working on making engines. And a lot of those things you see are actually pieces of natural resources that have been converted to look like that. And so manufacturing is huge in most parts of the world, including East Asia. And finally, the last one that we have is the service industry, where work is done for a customer. So you're going to see places like businesses like restaurants, your waiter, your cook. You see construction worker here, doctors, teachers, lawyers, realtors. All these are pieces of the real estate or the service industry. And inside the service industry, you're going to see a lot of work for individuals. So these are the types of information that we have for economics. So make sure you have everything copied down. If you need to back up, make sure you get everything because there is a quiz. And if you have any questions on anything, please raise your hand and I'll be glad to help you.